Now let's talk about how to be dangerous from closed guard, because now there's a lot of submissions that we can do from closed guard, because remember, I have autonomy over my legs, my arms, and my head, and she does not. So I have a lot of options to be dangerous right here. So right now, I'm just going to show a few different submissions that we can do from closed guard, and how to start combining all these different sweeps, transitions, and submissions in, did I say that already? Okay, yeah. We're going to combine these sweeps, transitions, and submissions all together to create these beautiful, like, katas almost. So that way, like, when you're going live, you can start setting things up and see how things flow together. In the intro course, we introduced this as chaining, and that's exactly what it is. You start chaining things together. Jiu-jitsu's not just one move. Just like in fighting, you don't just do one punch. You're like, okay, now I'm going to wait for the next punch, right? No, everything blends together. You create setups. And that's another way of creating a mechanical advantage, is you start to position your opponent in these weird ways that they make the mistakes themselves. They set themselves up for failure. And as you look at this, I know this is getting a little bit theoretical, but you start learning about like war history and tactics, and you can see how even though somebody had a much larger army, they got just slaughtered because the tactics of the generals or of the, like for example, the Greeks or the Romans or whoever it may be, the way they were able to collapse in and surround people. That's what you want to do, is you want to make the opponent think that they're doing the right thing, but in the end, that is your advantage, okay? So let's talk about some submissions. We're going to start off with a Kimura. That's my favorite. So right off the bat, when you get to a closed guard, I'm going to ask you to come, collect the head, and break the posture. If any time she touches the mat while she's in my closed guard, right, we're going to attack a Kimura. And there's going to be so many submissions from when they touch the mat, but let's just focus on the Kimura. I tell the kids the floor is lava, and I just build it in their head. Hands on the mat, and they just know to go for the Kimura. So that way, if I'm coaching them in a competition or during live rolls, I'm like, hands are on the mat, they just automatically go for a Kimura. Okay, so I get right here, I break her posture. She uses the mat to push herself back up. As she puts her hands on the mat, notice that I don't just completely let go to go for this. I'm going to do this one step at a time. So I'm just going to do the Kimura so you guys can see, and then I'm going to start breaking it down. So I break it down, she puts her hands on the mat, boom, reach up here, close, get out from underneath her, and I try to touch her wrist to the back of her neck. Okay, this is a rotational break, okay, 3-dimensional break that we talked about in the intro course. So I'm trying to rotate her shoulder and create tension on the, what's that called? The joints. I'm trying to create tension on the joints by twisting them out of place, okay? There's only so much that give that the joints have. I'm trying to rip it out and expose that. So I come up, I break the posture, she touches the mat, grab her wrist, come up, collect, fall back, and I have this. Notice that I've kept my guard closed the entire time. If I need to open my guard a little bit to come up right here, then I need to make sure I collect my guard back up, whether it's a body triangle or regular guard, to prevent her from doing anything with her lower body as a defense, okay? I like to control her hips as much as possible for most submissions, okay? So let's talk about this step by step. I come up, I collect her head, she puts her hands on the mat. So I keep her posture broken. That's going to help me get this set up. Because if I don't, if I just let go as I go for this, look it, she's already up and I don't have the angle now that I need. So I collect her head. I keep one hand on the back of her head really strong, and I reach and I grab her wrist right here. Now I pull her head to my armpit as I shift my arm over her armpit. Collect my own wrist right here, just like the Americana that we learned in the intro course, and I'm going to collect this to my chest. The tighter this is to my chest, the better. I don't want to be way out here trying to finish this. I want to collect this right here. Now here's a very important detail that I like to do, is I like to separate her. So I'm pulling her waist away from her upper body, separating her with my closed guard. You see she's grunting, that's perfect. And now I'm rotating, not just with my arms. I'm not just pushing with my arms. I'm using my entire body to rotate, okay? And I know I'm going into a lot of detail, but this is what this is for, right? As I get right here, I'm also getting out from underneath her. The further out from underneath her, the more rotational ability I'm going to have and the more torque I'm going to be able to apply on Coach Jade here. Okay? So, let me do it from a side angle now, please. So I have my closed guard. I get up, I break this posture right here. She puts her hands on the mat unwisely. I grab her wrist, I shove her head down, and I reach up over her armpit, almost identical to the hip bump sweep, right? And now I'm going from over her armpit and collecting, covering my wristwatch. So I cover her wristwatch, I cover my wristwatch. Okay, nobody's reading the time. And now when I'm here, I glue this, so as I fall, it breaks her posture. So even if I do this poorly, so she's postured up, and I collect this from right here, okay? By me just falling back, being connected with her right here, you see how her posture breaks? If I don't connect with her right here and I fall back, she can stay postured. And this is when we get into a lot of scrambles that we don't need, and a lot of struggles that we don't need. So, break, boom, collect, shove it down, collect in right here. Okay? And now I'm going to separate her. And when I separate her, I'm moving my hips down, away, and I'm moving this tighter to my chest. What this does is it creates tension on the joint. So I pull the shoulder, the ball and socket out, and then by the time I start twisting, it's already tight. So this makes her weaker and less likely to move, and it gives her less motivation to move. And now I use my whole body to twist. So notice I'm out from underneath her. She's way over here off to the side. I'm pulling her shoulder joint out of the socket, and then it's a really easy. If I didn't do it as tight, I'm trying to get her wrist to the back of her neck. All right?
That's the bad shoulder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let's do it one more time. So I'm going to come up, boom. She puts her hands on the mat, boom. Lock in, separate her, and then put her wrist to the back of her neck for a Kimura. All right, anything to add to that?
I don't think so.
It was good?
Yeah.
All right, cool.